Fighting both the chill and the dread of the first snowfall with pancakes, Jules fumbles through mixing up the batter by flashlight before eating the plain breakfast amongst the falling speckles of death that begin to cling to the cold earth. In an attempt to insulate his already stinging nose, he dons the bloody and broken mask he had scavenged from the undead and fights to ignore the rancid and foul smell assaulting his senses. Retreading the path he had driven many times by now, he knows it's finally time to loot the entirety of the trailer park so that he could have a complete understanding of his food supply going forward. Rattling past the pile of corpses he had already left, he peers through the smeared lenses of his mask and returns to the bloodshed he had grown all too comfortable with. Rewarded with an initial burst of hope as his first house contains a handful of canned food, he doesn't relent as he continues his work. Next, he finds not only food, but also the exact clothes he'll need in the coming months. Thick, puffy, and insulated, he can't help but smile at the eggplant-colored coat he stuffs in his bag. Discovering an abandoned work truck with a tank full of gas, he siphons an entire can as his diligence appears to be finally paying off. Moving through the eerily quiet trailer park, he's faced with the reality of all he's done over the last several weeks, cleaving his way through the endless undead for a brief moment of promise and relief. Looting an ambulance that certainly must have been responding to the chaos of the outbreak, Jules discovers ample medical supplies to bring home that he hopes he'll never actually need. Having checked every house in the park and armed with a truck bed full of food, Jules lets himself finally feel accomplished as he settles into the comfortable seat of his reliable pickup. Unloading his goods and rewarding himself with dinner and a beer, Jules gives into the exhaustion of the day and wakes up in the cozy safety he had built for himself.
For once, I don't feel the need to race out of my sanctuary as soon as the sun rises. It is an odd sensation, having spare time once again, but it has allowed me to realize something that I had overlooked for far too long. I had lost myself. Somewhere amongst the scramble for survival, the desperate pursuit of living in a world determined to kill me, I had let slip the various traits that made up Jules Wade. I am alive, but I haven't been living, and I'm determined to see that changed. Besides, what is the point of pushing forward if all you're doing is marking days on a calendar? It's time to live again. Jules.
Spending the majority of his day off buried in various books, Jules feels a dull spark of his former self beginning to burn in the base of his heart, which both provides him the fuel to go onwards and the fear of his lacking abilities. Thankful for his winter coat as he rises before dawn and prepares to set out once again, Jules gets lost watching the barren trees whip past, as the reality of winter is now undeniable. Slowly exploring further down the main road, he keeps himself on edge as he sets his sights on the mechanic shop he had spotted earlier, though the lack of infected almost makes him more uncertain than if the business had been swarmed. Finding a key for the car parked outside, his looting of the rest of the shop bears little fruit, as his hope of securing a carjack is dashed for the foreseeable future. Moving to the diner next door, he once again fears the lack of undead guard dogs, but hopes to find more food to shore up his stores. Disappointed yet again, he looks across the street to the industrial complex where the dead still lingered, and assumes where they are must be where he needs to be. Realizing how difficult it was to fight in his puffy winter coat, he reminds himself of the benefits of firearms, though his untrained hands could do little with them without practice. Clearing the road for his return trip home, he gets back to work clearing the hordes amongst the factories, curious what resources they might hold within. Feeling himself reaching his limit, he rests for a moment before clearing the area around a trailer and its matching truck. Finding practically nothing in the trailer itself, he's surprised to find that the truck still has the key in its ignition. And a look under the hood proves that it is nearly pristine despite the crumbling of society. Though he didn't have a use for it now, Jules' mind already begins to churn over the opportunities such a tool could provide. Being able to load up and move whole stores, libraries, and neighborhoods could be something that secures his survival for potentially years to come. Feeling his eyelids growing heavy, he begins his drive back towards his home, while coming to the realization that getting a tractor-trailer up to his radio station would be a feat within itself. Waking up to another cold and wet morning atop his hill, Jules is barely fazed by the dreary weather as he dons his poncho and bag before carrying his rested feet towards his truck. Deciding it was time to deal with the undead plaguing the entrance to his road, Jules uses the freshness of his energy to scatter their brains across the ground before moving on with his day. Getting a brief respite from the rain as he pulls into the parking lot once again, he attacks the constant stream of undead with a renewed vigor, as he's determined to make it inside today. Hearing the arrival of a true storm as he makes it through the front doors of the building, he carefully deals with the shambling corpses still hiding within. Thankful to find the rear of the factory clear of any hordes, he finishes securing the interior before rewarding himself with a refreshing soda from the neglected vending machine. Stepping out into the storm to both check the perimeter and remove the barricade over the door, he delights in the fact that he can simply pull his vehicle into the prepared bays and loot in almost complete safety. Shut away from the undead and the storm, he begins shifting through the many crates and shelves to procure supplies and tools he most certainly would need, but is truly elated to discover the wood stove he had dreamed of, resting in one of the sturdy crates. Only hearing the storm getting worse outside, Jules is finally discovered by one of the undead, which serves as the signal for him to make his way home for the evening. Setting the new source of heat directly beside his bed, he wastes no time in loading it full of his prepared firewood before sparking it to life for the first time.
For the first time in what seems like years, I'm sitting comfortably in my bed, not afraid of the undead, not shivering at the cold, not ignoring my grumbling stomach. I have everything I could ever want right now, and it makes me feel both incredibly accomplished and terrified. Fighting harder and harder, claiming more and more comforts, all it does is put me in another position to lose it all, just like the country club. No longer do I fear dying alone in the woods, but now I am pursued by the horror of living long enough to see all my achievements taken from me. I need to figure out how to cheer the fuck up. Jules.